Well, Resident Evil 4, the remake, is of course now out, making it, well, a entry in the series. Now, a few years ago, I did my top 5 Resident Evil creatures about, 3 years ago. It's time to make that list in honor of a couple new entries being made, and also since I've played more games. So, let's get into the top 5 scariest Resident Evil monsters. Starting off at number 5, I of course have the Reapers from Resident Evil 5. First, oh wait, wrong picture. Correct picture. Yeah, the Reapers are, well, basically overgrown cockroaches. So if you ever feared cockroaches, I would not play Resident Evil 5. Yeah, these guys were a nightmare. For so long, I got stuck on the final parts of Resident Evil 5 because these things kept shish kebabbing me. It also didn't help that I also got stuck on Wesker sometime later. Yeah, these guys aren't fun to deal with and are some of the most annoying enemies to encounter, but also some of the most blood-chilling enemies. Of course, we have a bit of a friendly pick for our next pick. So friendly that he introduces your entire body to a spiky death. And of course, for number 4, we of course have the Regenerators and Iron Maidens. I really should have waited until I played the Resident Evil 4 remake, and maybe even the original. Well, I mean, completely original. But the Iron Maiden and Regenerators are enemies that you can find later in the game, and the Regenerators aren't too much of a hassle. You gotta shoot certain parts of the body in order to kill them. The Iron Maiden is definitely where it gets even creepier, as they have spikes all over the body, and I think they can kill you in one shot. Safe to say that had I played the remake of 4, they'd probably be a lot higher on the list. But I wanted to include them on the list mainly because, hey, this literally just came out, so give me a hot topic. And also, I mean, these two things are literally the most horrifying creatures that I've seen in that game so far. Of course, next up at number 3, we of course have the Lickers. Lickers were originally introduced in Resident Evil 2 before making the comeback in Resident Evil 5. In the Resident Evil 2 remake, these things are a bit of a nightmare to face. Now, in the main game, they aren't so tough, but in the 4th Survivor, these things are a nightmare to face off against, along with everything else in the 4th Survivor. This could have been a bigger list now that I think about it, but Lickers are, well, they're terrifying. They're a more mutated zombie, just like the Crimson Head, and are fast and agile. They also do some really tough attacks, which kind of makes it a bit of a pain and a bit of a nightmare to fight them off. But fortunately, if you sneak past them and not run through the entire police station like I did, you probably shouldn't have too much difficulties with them. And of course, my number 2 pick, we're going back to Resident Evil 5 with the Big Majini. Majini are the, well, most common enemy to encounter in Resident Evil 5. Now, with some of the Majini you can face, there is a bigger one who holds a club with a bunch of skulls and spikes on it. These guys are not fun. My first encounter with them was in the Mercenaries mode. I didn't play the story until 2020, and the amount of these guys that you face in the story and even in Mercenaries mode is just astonishing. They're not fun to deal with. Just like the Reapers, but fortunately I did not get stuck on these guys for the longest time. They all really intimidating though. And of course, at number 1, I of course had to have the all-time classic Mr. X. Now, for my original video, I did have Nemesis, Ustanok, and I think the Executioner as my number 1 spot, I decided that I want to give them their own spot on these lists. Mr. X was the tyrant introduced in the original Resident Evil 2 before making his, well, I guess maybe hyped return in the Resident Evil 2 remake. Once the remake for 2 dropped, dude instantly gained a lot of popularity, as there were so many videos on YouTube of just people encountering him and just running away in terror. It also got even better once someone mashed some clips of gameplay along with the song from DMX, X Gonna Give It To You, and kind of made that whole meme. Definitely made him probably a little less scary, but definitely did make the Resident Evil 2 days fun, and I'm hoping something like that comes out of the Resident Evil 4 remake. But going back to the game, Mr. X is just downright horrifying to encounter. Like, I've gotten so used to playing Resident Evil 2, and like, I'm still scared of this guy. He's not as scary as the Nemesis, because he doesn't bolt after you, but in my opinion, he was better than Nemesis, because he doesn't change his form until the final part of the game. And it feels like it was used more in the game, and it made the police station even more scary, because just as soon as you get used to the police station and think that you've encountered everything, Mr. X is right around that corner. But these were my picks for the top 5 scares for Resident Evil monsters. I do plan to do some reviews of the games, as well as more lists like this in the future. So, until then, goodbye, and, well, just hope you don't run into Mr. X or the Nemesis. Well, goodbye everyone.